Okay, this is Sissy Former talking. Glendora says, not the law. Show me the law. Former said, you have to see the case law. And I've showed him the case law, and on the case law, you know, I win on everything on the case law. So he has no grounds there, and he has no proof there, and he's not producing anything. Glendora says that case law, there is no such thing as case law. It's just more bad decisions by bad judges. State of New York made no such law, and Congress made no such law, and Delaware made no such law. Why are they afraid to show a shareholder the shareholders list? What are they doing so wrong? What are they doing so criminal? Why are they afraid to have the meetings, shareholder meetings, taped? What do they want to keep from you, the subscribers, and from you, other shareholders, and from you, the public? What are they covering up? What have they done that's so bad? That was asked to Rita. I want you to know, folks, that this is with demand number 70. Demand number 60, no, this is demand number 71. Demand number 70, Franklin made on Tuesday, December 5th at Bethpage. And demand number 70 was a no. This is demand number 71, a no. This is how many times they have broken the law. Cablevision, Charles Dolan, James Dolan, Robert Lemley, William Bell, all of the rest of those people. This is how many times they have broken the law. Now this is interesting. I want you to hear this. This was asked to Rita. I'm going to play it for you again. Bob asked to Rita, a former New York City cop. He acts just like Bruiser Ken. Robert Astorita says, this is my building. He's nothing but an insecurity goon. And this is my building. Well, I'll have you know, Robert Astorita, it's the shareholders' building. It's the shareholders who own the building. This is Cablevision, and this is how Cablevision talks to people. Glendora has asked to see the shareholders list at corporate headquarters at 1111 Stewart Avenue. And they know that they are wrong, and they know that they are breaking the law, and they know that I have them cornered. And I keep asking to see the shareholders list. And so they try to get out of it this way. Now this is Astorita, who is vice president of, is nothing but insecurity. It's not security, okay? They're just Gestapos. They're former former Manhattan cops, New York cops. And so this is, Astorita comes over, and this is what he says. Can you get that? This guy is just a flunky, and he says, in my building, people do what I say. Well, he doesn't own the building, okay? The shareholders own the building. Who is this? This is Robert Astorita, okay? A blowhard, a puffery, a braggart, and this is all rhetoric. He doesn't own the building. The recording is not clear because I'm not wearing the recorder. It's not on me. So I had to laugh at that, and he says, in my building, that's bad enough, but people do what I say. And this is the arrogance and the ignorance that go hand in hand with Cablevision ever since 1993, ever since I've known them. This is what they are. And I'm glad that we have a copy of it so you can see. And I'm glad you're getting this report. Okay, there's 3 great big 20-foot wooden toy soldiers out at the front. This is how the Dolans choose to celebrate Christmas, with soldiers. Peace on earth is being celebrated with soldiers. And we have a toy soldier over there named Scout, and we have a toy soldier over there named Ryan, and we have a big fat toy soldier over there named Lavalier. Okay, this is how the Dolans choose to celebrate Christmas, peace on earth, goodwill toward man. My statutory right is being violated. Glendora says, what difference does it make whether you want it to be or not, don't want it to be? It doesn't make any difference at all. And Astorita, who admitted only 3 or 4 days to me that he was ignorant of the law, and he was not a lawyer, and he didn't know the law. And so he says this is a New York State law, but he's been given bad advice by some bad lawyer. New York State law is that any conversation can be recorded as long as one person knows it's being recorded. If I know it's being recorded, that's enough. Any conversation can be recorded as long as one person knows it is being recorded. That is New York State law. So Glendora told Astorita, who doesn't know what he's talking about, to produce his law. And Astorita can, and so Astorita gets angry. Typical cop reaction. Now he knows he's lost the argument. He knows he's wrong. So he says, listen, Glendora, I don't want to lower myself. Charles Former doesn't qualify as an attorney by any stretch of the imagination. So, Astor Reader is Gestapo, saying you have no further business here, and Glendora says, well, I certainly do. I'm a shareholder, and I'm here to see the shareholders list. Astor Reader, Big Boss, says if Franklin and Glendora are not out of the building in 5 minutes, call the cops. I asked to see the shareholders list. The answer is call the cops. This is what Cablevision is. At Christmas time, this is what Charles Dolan and James Dolan are. So Glendora says it's a great idea to call the police. I want them to arrest you, Robert Astor Reader, you, Paul Ryan, you, Tony LaValla, for not showing me the shareholders list and breaking a New York state law. Now, Astor Reader trails up. And Glendora wants to still ask him a question. Glendora wants to see a chat with Glendora on Channel 71 Public Access. But Astor Reader knows that he's lost, and he doesn't have the fortitude to turn around and face it. So he keeps walking, when clearly he is hearing me call him. And so I said to Paul Ryan, is there some place where I can go and watch Channel 71, A Chat with Glendora? It's on right now. And what does Ryan say? No! You want to know something, folks? You can't get cable TV at Cablevision. Cablevision doesn't have cable TV. Glendora says to Franklin, we have won so many chapters today. We have shown the world exactly what these people are. We have shown them for what they are. So while they have all going away with their tails between their legs, because they have broken a law, and they know fully well they've broken a law, and they know fully well they're going to be sued for that. Everything's quiet. And then after they've all gone except one, toy soldier, that would be Paul Ryan, Glendora says to Franklin, of September 30th. Now that's very old. Now this is Gestapo Paul Ryan coming over. Are you going to leave the building? Are you refusing to leave the building? And Glendora won't even acknowledge him. Okay? Glendora's there on shareholder business to see the shareholders list, and she's staying there until she sees it. Dolan, Charles F. Dolan, at the meeting said that the inspectors of election were Sylvan Crawford and Frank Les, and his diction is not good, and he doesn't project, so you don't know what he said. But that's the way he wants it, More cover up is better. Everything that you can cover up. Don't let him know what we're doing. Don't let him see what we're doing. And these are the people from Chase Mellon Shareholder Services who are so rinky-dink they don't have business cards. This is Paul Ryan. So you see, Paul Ryan went away, because I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay. And then I started to sit down on the top and then the second row. And another toy soldier that I don't know started to move me. Somebody said, no, that's okay.
That made Franklin laugh. When I went into the shareholders meeting and Charles Foreman says, all right, Mr. Dolan, you can start your meeting now, meaning that Glendora was here. Can you believe it? They wouldn't start the meeting. They were holding up, well, there were only 5 or 6 people there. The rest were all toy soldiers. So Charles Foreman said, Mr. Dolan, you can start your meeting now. And so I sat down in front on the aisle, and one toy soldier, whom I never met, started to move me. And another toy soldier came down the stairs, no, leave her there. Crazy people.
There were altogether 16 people, not counting the toy soldiers. There were, in the auditorium, there were about 10 people. And then he called me to order some coffee. And then he said, you can entertain a motion. And I said, no discussion. And then he got a second. Guess who did the seconding?
Who did the seconding? Foreman. All the little toy soldiers.
Made the motion. After Rita, toy soldier. And then he said it was wrong, and then Sal House came to sit right there. And I told him to step back. And then, South House said the phones are open. Okay, and I said discussion. No discussion. Phones are adjourned. And, I don't know, discussion was, on your reaction to nothing.
That's big fat Tony LaSalle, who was about as most Gestapo of them all of them. And he's come and then he's telling us to leave now. And I keep talking to Franklin. I'll play that back for you. Are you leaving now?
Discussion was, on your reaction to nothing.
Typically LaSalle. By your inaction, you are not leaving. Toy soldiers.
Okay. No discussion. And then he said, it has been carried. Okay? It has been carried.
This is Cell House who said that. And the polls are closed.
I said, no discussion. Why is the meeting adjourned? Why? He said,
Charles Dolan called for proxies, and there weren't any proxies. The proxies were for the November 10th meeting, which was adjourned, which was canceled. And so he was asking for proxies for this meeting. And I've never had a proxy for this meeting, December 8th. And so I wanted that clarified. And Sal House said that you had to have a proxy for this meeting too. Minutes later, she reversed herself. She's always wrong. And she reversed herself and did a volte-face. No, I didn't have to have a proxy for this meeting. I asked Dolan, I wanted to know why was the November 10th meeting canceled? Why was this meeting canceled? And Dolan says, well, as we said in our press release, and I don't think they did, he said, we may have other offers. And I said to Dolan that a press release is not a notice to shareholders.
And I said, a press release is not a notice to shareholders. Consider other offers. Well, what offer?
Yeah, what offers? What offers, folks? Don't we have a right to know? About 10:09 a.m. And it was held all up by a former forcing me to sign a paper that I could not read, and a paper for which he did not produce any rules. No motion to adjourn, no second to a motion to adjourn, and no vote to adjourn. It's all railroaded by Charles F. Dolan. These notes are all written on the back of the Delaware law, which Cablevision just ignores. Yeah, did you know that? Did you know that Cablevision is above the law? Did you know that? Did you know that Cablevision owns you? Yes, Cablevision owns you. They own on Long Island. They own Newsday. They own the New York Law Journal. They own everybody on Long Island. They are the kings of Long Island, and you are their subjects.
Would not let me take my box. So bad.
Charles Dolan would not let me take my file box. Those are my files.
Okay.
So the picture is now.
Have no chance. The chance is for objections to start those.
I had no chance, I'm saying to Franklin. This is my shareholder certificate. I wanted to show it to Dolan and ask him, is anything here going to change? If this rainbow, this wicked rainbow tracking stock goes through. And then through all of their harassment of the shareholder, I did not have a chance to hand in my objections to the rainbow tracking stock. I had a copy for myself and a copy for Charles F. Dolan, and they kept me from handing that in. And the name of it is, I hate, loathe, despise, abhor, and detest the rainbow tracking stock proposal. And as we left the theater, coming up the stairs, the aisle is like that. It's like a pit, I'll say, a snake pit. And coming up the stairs, behind me was Charles Dolan. And I did not speak to him. Last time, I shook his hand and wished him well. But this time, no. Now we know where it's coming from. It's coming from Charles F. Dolan. For years, I've given that man the benefit of the doubt and counted him as a friend. I no longer want him as a friend. Okay, continue my, all at the time we're waiting, the fakers are going to call the police. I asked to see the shareholders list and their answer is to call the police. How's that? Is that America? Is that America? Is that Christmas? I'm not wearing a recorder, so it isn't very plain what's being said. Homeowner notarized his own paper. That's more Cablevision incest. So Franklin and I discussed what happened. Franklin was wrongfully kept from the meeting. What God has joined asunder, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. What God has joined together, let no man put asunder. So Franklin, the report is all over to Franklin, and I'm not going to get the shareholders list, so we get up to leave. So that's number 71, demand, that is violated. Glendora says to Franklin, are you ready to go? And so we get up to go to leave. Just as we do, guess what comes in through the door? A Nassau County police sergeant and a cruiser. So Franklin packs up, and I take my file box out and I put it on the post next to the 20-foot wooden toy soldier. They're all wooden. They're all wooden. And I come back and I get my copy machine. You ready to go? Glendora says to Franklin. And I help Franklin put his scarf on and button his coat and get his gloves on. And the static electricity makes his pants wrinkle. So I pulled the pant leg down to the shoe. And we went out the door. And Franklin stood by the post, guarding the file box and guarding the copy machine with the 3 wooden toy soldiers 20 feet tall, in the spirit of Christmas, peace and goodwill. So all the time, Gestapo Ryan, Paul Ryan, is watching us, and the cop is watching us. I asked to see the shareholder list, and the answer is call the police. Now, call the police is a good idea, because they all should have been arrested for violating a New York state law, and they all should be fined and put in jail. So Franklin stays there with the file box and the copy machine. I cut across the lawn, no geese. And I go to the car, and I get the automobile, and I drive it up. And by then, there's 2 cruisers. You see, Nassau County has money to throw away, right? They aren't there out protecting you against serious crime. They're out there fooling around with the people and the money, the donors. So silly. Oh, they showed exactly what they are. Sorry about that. That's the 11th day of this congestion. So the two cruisers were a traffic hazard, a vehicle hazard on the curve. You could hardly get by them, so they could park the car, get the copy machine into it, and get the file box into the back seat, take care of Rusty. And so we went out of their property and across Stewart and parked on the service road, the service street, on public property. And there I videotaped the two cruise cars, and I videotaped the new hirees are the 3 toy wooden soldiers 20 feet tall outside the door, celebrating Christmas, peace, and goodwill. We celebrate that with soldiers. That's the Dolan mindset. Glendora's walking toward the car to get the car. The congestion in the throat appeared every 15 minutes practically for about 7 days. This is going across Stewart Avenue. That's the terror of that street. These are the chimes of the Lincoln. Franklin getting in first, getting the file box in. Getting in the copy machine, which terrorizes them. A recorder, a camera, or a copy machine terrorizes them because they know they're doing wrong and they know they're getting caught. Lenny talking to Rusty. So we got all 3 into the car, Franklin, the file box, and the copy machine, and we drove around, as I say, on the side street, facing Cablevision, so we could see the whole thing. We videotaped the cruisers, and we videotaped the toy soldiers. And we videotaped Glendora's picket signs. Dolan cheats, or Dolan's cheat. Dolan's cheat. Fire former. So we got all three into the car, Franklin, the file box, and the copy machine, and we drove around, as I say, on the side street facing Cablevision, so we could see the whole thing. We videotaped the cruisers, and we videotaped the toy soldiers. And we videotaped Glendora's picket signs. Dolan cheats, or Dolan's cheat. Dolan's cheat. Fire former. So the two cops and Ryan did nothing. They had no cause to be there. It was Nassau County taxpayer waste at a time when Nassau County was about to be taken over by the state for bankruptcy. And these things happen because the Dolans are getting the property at Bethpage for $33 million a year, no taxes. Maybe it's $30 million a year, no taxes. See, they're too rich to pay taxes. You, so I did. Tuesday, December 5th, before this Friday, December 8th that you just heard, Charles Dolan tried to just get Franklin to discourage Glendora from coming all the way to Westchester to go to the meeting because it's going to be just the same as the November 10th meeting. But you don't think that Glendora is going to let that go by? No, no way. Glendora had to see it. Thence, we went to Woodbury to see the public file. December 5th, Tuesday, there was infraction, federal infraction. Kathleen refused to show Franklin the public file. A public file, by federal mandate, has to be available to the public from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It doesn't matter whether Jeff Clark is there or not, or who is there. The public file has to be available. That is a federal mandate, and this was a federal infraction. So, V was her usual cheerful self, and very, very helpful. And before you could blink an eye, here was the public file down in a conference room. And we were very comfortable from 11 o'clock until 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we finished the first drawer. How do we know? We don't see the public file. It's brought down to us in pieces. We don't see the public file. And I think that's wrong, too. But we did see the equal employment opportunity. How many people were hired, how many people were working there, how many of them were minorities, and how many, and what percentage, and how many of them were women. And it was interesting to notice that 2 people were let go because they were security risks. In other words, they knew things. They'd seen things. Why do people have to be like that? Why can't they be honest and moral and ethical? Why do they have to cheat and steal and lie and cover up? Why? Is that the only way you can make money? Is to steal and cheat and lie and cover up? You can't make money honorably? And so it was a very successful visit of the public file. And apparently we have drawer number 2 to go, which was as long as drawer number 1, and another half drawer. But this is only for Cablevision, the Long Island system. It's not for all the others, and it's not for corporate. So that was about our 12th or 14th visit. People were very pleasant and gave us food to eat. And poor Rusty, something about the cold weather. I went out in the car and he was shivering. And I left him my great big coat, and he, instead of sleeping on it, he was sleeping on the seat, which is not warm. It's not the 1980. The 1980 is warm. The 1993 is not like that. Well, I fixed him up anyhow, and I had taken his lunch. I had packed his lunch. It's easy to pack his lunch. You take a bag and you put in his dish, and you put in a can opener, and you pull in a fork, and you put in napkins, and you put in his dinner, and you give it to him. So he ate that with, and I watched public access while I was doing the public file. That was fun, but I missed the chat with Glendora's that were on. The 4 programs, the chat with Glendora that were on. I missed them all. Bob Clement came down. Bob Clement, he's very good looking. I think he's very good looking. And he brought me down 12 specials that had been cable cast. And there are only 7 specials left. And Friday's a hard day for them, I guess, because they have to plan Saturday and Sunday. So they can loaf, you see. That's the way America is, right? You have to work twice as hard, 3 times as hard on Friday so you can loaf Saturday and Sunday. I never get to loaf. I would like to loaf. So we left, and Barbara Goldberg was there, and she brought out the copy machine to the car, and she was on her way to work. V wasn't there, but V is from Seattle. I asked her if she knew Mark Shukin, that he is now in Seattle. And then we went to Queens. And at Queens I talked to Karen and told Karen she has 2 dogs. And I told her about Rusty, how he was gone. And then he didn't come back when he was supposed to. And he left at 6 o'clock and he was supposed to be back by 6:30 and he wasn't. And 8:30 we had to go. And when I came home that night, there was a telephone call from Lee Miles Transmission at the corner of Boston Road and Columbus Avenue in the Bronx. And he was there. And he had gone 2.7 miles. And Karen thought that was amazing. She says, but it happens, it happens, it happens. And Rusty loves to go walking on a Queen Street way up behind Casino Boulevard where there's houses and a little bit of grass on the tree belt and trees and a fire hydrant. He's just fascinated by that. And then we came back to Westchester and home. And I started videotaping this for you, this report. Now, I have some questions that I wanted to ask Charles Dolan. And these are very important questions. But Charles Dolan doesn't want to answer any questions. I wanted to say, why no taping? I wanted to ask him, why was the November 10th meeting canceled? Well, he sort of answered that, and he said we were waiting for, we might have other offers. And why was the December 8th meeting canceled? For the same reason that the November 10th meeting was canceled. Why didn't he get his act together and have the meeting and get it over with, instead of calling him? And I wanted to tell Charles Dolan that his liar for hire, Charles Former, his reason for not showing me the shareholders list is that I'm a poor person. Charles Former doesn't believe that I have enough money to communicate with the other shareholders. He says the cost of that alone is $9,000. Well, I read that all to you last week in the order to show cost. And so I wanted Charles Dolan to know that Glendora could not see the shareholders list because Glendora is a poor person. And what is Charles Dolan? It's only for rich people, you see. It's only for rich people like you, Charles Dolan. And why won't you let me see and copy the shareholders list? What's your reason, Mr. Dolan? That was a question I had to ask. And what have you done wrong? And then I wanted to be sure and pick it, and I did. I picketed it. But I've got to find out what street comes into the back entrance of the building, 1111 Stewart Avenue, where all the runways are, where they used to make the F-15 fighter planes. Maybe that's why they're so militaristic, huh? So I've got to find out how to picket the street where that entrance is. And they wouldn't let me see the chat with Glendora at 9:30, 10, 10:30, and 11. And what is your reason for breaking the laws and not showing Glendora the shareholders list? What are you covering up? What have you done wrong? These are questions I wanted to ask Charles F. Dolan, but he won't answer questions. He just railroads everything through. Railroads it. Why are you so... why don't you want the shareholders' meetings taped? What are they doing wrong at the shareholders' meeting that they don't want you subscribers to know, you the public to know, or you the stockholders to know? What are they doing wrong? So the meeting was adjourned. Excuse me. See, Wednesday was the 8th day, Thursday was the 9th, Friday was the 10th, today is Saturday. This is the 11th day of this congestion. But it's much, much less. And it's not a family, it's not a public corporation at all, you see. It's a secret to society. It's a family business. And he's masquerading. And now he wants to go out and sell more stock on the rainbow to get the public's money so that he can give it to his family and continue to run his family business while snickering the whole world that this is a public corporation. Former cannot even get the name of the law correctly. It is correctly the Delaware Law of Corporations, and he keeps calling it the Delaware Corporation Law. There was another railroaded meeting, and I wanted to know if Charles F. Dolan got the mail that I send to him. And at home, at home, you know what that refers to? Not a TV show. It refers to Charles Dolan, because that's where he is all the time. He's never at work. And they've never given me the bylaws that I requested. They've never given me a copy of the certificate of authority to operate in the state of New York, where they're making all the money and stealing it from you and asking for increases. I don't have their certificate of authority from Delaware. And have they corrected my listing? They have my listing wrong. They have it as Glendora. 110, Huntington Station, and it should be Route 110. So I don't know if they corrected that or not, because I can't see the shareholders list. They have not handled my demand for voting trusts. That's New York State Corporation Law, Business Corporation Law, Section 1316. And I want to know what is the jurisdiction of their authority. Is the Wiz included in that? Is the Wiz included in that? Radio City Music Hall, Madison Square Garden, etc. That's Section 1304. And I want to know what the litigation costs have been at Cablevision for the past year. What money have they paid lawyers to cover up their cheats? And why are you afraid to let Glendora see the shareholders list, the books and records? And the documents that I asked for, the proposal for the rainbow tracking stock, it says that all the documents that this proposal this proposal is based upon are available by calling 516-803-2300, and I called and I get a bunch of, always, as you always do, Cablevision advertising and promotion. But there aren't any really legal papers except the annual report. And we already have that. And there was a quarterly report there. And there's a picture of Charles Dolan and James Dolan that I have to show you. I have to show it on TV. Here is this, see, this is not a notice of shareholders, folks. This is the clipping that came from the New York Times that Charles Formas showed Franklin when we were expecting to go to the December 8th meeting, and he was trying to discourage us from going. But you see, there's no information there. Fortunately, the New York Times had sense enough not to print all of their promotional material.
White Plains,
Uh,
New York, 10606.
This is a note to Charles Dolan. Glendora will need a table at the meeting December 8th. She has so many papers opposing the rainbow tracking stock, they will all fall off of her lap. It would be nice to give a shareholder a table on the stage. Here is the illegal paper, which I'm going to rescind. I'm going to withdraw this. This is the illegal paper that Charles Former coerced Glendora.
Oh, good, I'm glad you helped me with this. And I got it done right here. I got it done right here and now. Go on,
So I'm going to rescind that, I think. After I finish reporting to you, you come first. I am going to read the fat book on the rainbow stocking track proposal. I'll read the page that I was supposed to read for Thursday, Thursday, Friday, and today, Saturday. And then I'll write a paper to the court, and then I'll read that to you. See, it's the Delaware law of corporations, and Foreman can never get that straight.
Crooked lawyers and corrupt judges.
Karen says, I like that. Well, that's what this program is about, and also crooked corporate people like Texaco and Cablevision and Gannett.
And then I would like to cable cast the investors.
So these are the questions that I had to ask, and I wanted the answers to, but I was censored.
Hi there! I'm going to tell you something about Rusty. Oh, you're so sweet. Is that a clue to him true? Oh, you're so smart. I like your haircut.
That's Omar. Thank you, Omar, for doing what you do for public access producers.
And I want that, right?
Okay. Let me look at my notes on here and see if there's anything else to tell you, but I think we're finished.
How's the man on here? You didn't say what's he got? What's he got? He's got a, what is the heck of the submarine they have?
Former would not let me take my file box to the meeting. That was censorship.
I mean, no, I was here. No.
Former would not let me take my husband to the meeting, so that was censorship. I think we've covered that page. Yes, we're all up to date on this. I'm making these notes on the back of the Delaware law. And remember, Charles Former and, well, he really doesn't count, but Charles Dolan and James Dolan are above the law. You have to obey the law, but they don't. Okay, they're above the law because they're rich. This is Rusty.
And he didn't come back, and I had to go to Long Island to edit, and he always goes with me. So I never leave him alone. I had to take him. I was sick. And so I was troubled all day long. Where was I? I waited until 8:30 for him. And so I keep his call on him, and he goes off.
So that's the story of Rusty, who walked 3.7 miles from Westchester to the Bronx. He didn't find his people home, so he went back to his old people. Okay. So I'll do the reading and put the file in order and write the paper to the court and report to you. It's 3:55 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. Temperature 30 degrees, and we had our first snowstorm. It was little tiny one. All right, folks, here are some jot thoughts about the Dolan's conduct and behavior, their crookedness and their cheating, and their lying and their stealing. This is Charles Foreman, including Robert Astorita and Charles F. Dolan. And why isn't James Dolan at that meeting, and why aren't there any directors at that meeting? So here are some jot thoughts about that. Jot thought.
I was ambushed.
I was ambushed.
Should I retract the statement? Because I was coerced. And I couldn't read it. And it was read to me and I didn't hear it. And I thought it applied to this meeting and it applies to all meetings. And there was no copy of any such rules. I should have asked the police to arrest him for violating a New York state law. Did you notice the absenteeism? No James Dolan, no directors, no William Bell. Where was the Charles Golden, or whatever his name is, Frank Golden, Director of Investor Relations? Chase Mellon is Ricky Dink. They don't have any cards. And Charles Dolan announces their names at the meeting, but he does it so fast that you can't get them. Demand 69 was Tuesday, December 5th. Demand 70, I guess 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, or what we just call it 70, was December 8th. It was another railroading. Now, the question is, why are they so anxious that nobody knows what happens at the annual meeting? Why is it covered up? What is wrong? Why is it so important that nobody knows what happens at the annual meeting? And why don't they provide the minutes for the annual meeting? Why haven't they sent me a copy of the bylaw? And why haven't they sent me a copy of the certificate of authority? And why haven't they sent me a copy of the minutes of the June 6th annual meeting? So it's Merry Christmas and 3 20-foot toy soldiers. Peace on earth. Goodwill to man. These crooks screaming about following the rules. They don't follow the law. They violate 13, 15, 220, and 219. They're gonna go away starting in the year 2001. With another Dolan cheat, January 5th. Certainly. It was too last. It was too at the last minute. And I was there in time for the meeting, and I was barred from going to the meeting. My way was blocked, and that should not happen to a shareholder. One day I was going to become like a man for something. There's something very, very terrible going to happen.
and be happy. Happiness time. Happiness time. Time to recall and live and be happy. Donna calls us o'er the tumult of life's wild and restless sea. Day by day its sweet voice soundeth, saying, Christian, follow me. We're talking about happiness, and we're having a good time doing it. And we are using as our guide Brother Lawrence, who was a monk in the 1600s in the Carmelite order in Paris. And he perfected the simple practice of the presence of God. The simple practice of the presence of God. You do everything in the presence of God. And because God is so vast and so complicated and so complex and so beautiful and so wondrous and so far beyond us, we understand God as what? As happiness. The simple practice of the presence of happiness. We have schooled ourselves to live continually in the presence of happiness. We have three guides. One is Buddha Gautama, one is Brother Lawrence, and one is Jesus the Christ. Praise ye the Lord, the Almighty, the King of creation. Praise him, my soul, for he is thy strength and salvation. All ye who hear, to his temple draw near. Join us in glad adoration. Isn't that a nice phrase? A clause. Join us in glad adoration. Join us in glad adoration. I put this on microcassette because I thought it would be easier for us to talk around it than if it's on paper.
That's the thing that brings us the greatest pleasure, right?
What's the thing that brings us the greatest pleasure? The greatest joy? Happiness.
He dwelt with God in love.
He dwelt with God in love.
So do we, in love and in happiness, in joy.
And so do we, in love and in happiness and in joy.
In peace, in tranquility, in serenity.
Okay. In peace and in tranquility and serenity.
The vision he has seen in the unchanging light of faith pales the attractions offered by the world. There's no question about that.
Yeah. The attractions offered by the world. They don't give happiness, do they, folks? They really don't. Do they, Amadeus? Huh? Do they, you great big 30-pound feline, Felix domestica?
Doing what we're doing right now.
Now that's very important. We've said over and over again that we stay in the minute that we are in. We don't go to the past, we don't go to the future, we stay in the present. Not only is it the presence of God, but it's the presence of the moment. And if you keep the moment perfect that you're in, then all the other moments in the past, they will all add up to have been perfect, and all of the moments in the future, they will be perfect. Because you're taking care of this very moment, the moment that you're in right now. This very present moment. He schooled himself to live continually in the presence of God.
Present, joyous, satisfying, and going to that open house of councils on Sunday.
No. That was happiness? No way. No way. Going to a restaurant, that's happiness? No way.
The visions he has seen in the unchanging light of faith
I don't know what that means.
pales the attractions offered by the world. Yeah, no question.
I don't know what that means, but I know that the contemplation that we have transcends all other pleasures. I know that. Let's take a moment. Let's take a moment by this sweet clock right here. And we will have a moment of perfection. Here we go. We declare this to be a moment of perfection. We declare this to be a moment without any self, without any ego, without any desire, without any craving, without any envy, without any vindication. We declare this to be a moment of peace. This is our moment. This moment is before God. The ingenuity of God, the ready invention of God. This moment is before the beauty of God. This is under the blue sky, the dome of God's earth, and under the dome of God's millions of galaxies, billions of galaxies. This is a moment of serenity. This is a moment of divine union, of emergence into the absolute. This moment surpasses all other pleasures. What do we do? Go over a moment? No. Let's see what else Brother Lawrence says to us.
He longs for not else because he has his heart's desire.
He longs for naught else because he has his heart's desire. Well, yes. What is our heart's desire? Union with happiness.
So far as one in this life can. Well, I think you can have your heart's desire 100% in this life.
Oh, I see. Monsieur Beaufort said that he had his heart's desire as much as one can in this life, and Glendora said, oh, well, you can have your heart's desire fullest in this life. It's not 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, it's 100%. I say so, don't you?
Year before. There is for him no fear, since nothing on earth can injure him.
No fear, because no thing on earth can injure him. I feel that way. I really feel that way. We have happiness. That's it. We have it. We've declared it. We have it. And nothing on earth can injure us. And there isn't anything to fear. There's nothing to fear. Because we know now. We have illumination. We have elucidation. We know that happiness is the way. And we know that that's our job. There's something to fear if we don't do it, though. As long as we do it, we know that we have it.
No sin turn his heart from the love of God.
Nothing.
Wow.
What did he say?
He's Adam. Turn his heart from the love of God.
Nothing can turn his heart from the love of God.
He's
He's
adamantine.
adamantine.
Incapable of being dissolved,
He's incapable of being dissolved, broken,
broken, or penetrated.
or penetrated. That is we. Nothing can penetrate our happiness, right? Shake on it. You and I will shake on it. Remember, this in the beginning was a meeting of the minds between you and me, that I would do all I could to make you happy, and you would, thank you, would do what you could to make me happy. And on that we will be adamantine, or adamantine, unbroken, incapable of being dissolved, incapable of being penetrated. Our happiness stands. Stand up for Jesus. Stand on its strength alone. Immovable.
He need solicit no boon of peace, for his soul lives in tranquility.
He needs solicit no boon of peace, for his soul lives in tranquility. You and I have that, don't we? We have tranquility. Let us declare it. Let us take a minute. We declare this to be a moment of tranquility. You and I are together in happiness. We have found the truth. The truth is that our job is happiness. We see God as happiness. And we know that we are here to be happy and to spread happiness. And we do not want anything for ourselves. We do not want any, let's say we have no cravings. We have no ego. We have surrendered self to the will of God, and that will is happiness. We have peace, we have tranquility, we have serenity, we have poise, we have strength, we have elegance of manner, we have excellence of mind, and we have used up our minute. It's as easy as that, isn't it?
Isn't it beautiful?
Isn't it beautiful?
Conscious of a world designed for good. Isn't it lovely?
What did he say? Conscious of a world designed for good?
Lives in tranquility. Isn't it beautiful? Conscious of a world designed for good. Isn't it lovely?
Yes, I love it.
The perturbance of anger he knows not. Thank you, Miss Beaufort. Thank you. You draw a great picture. It's page 290, folks.
That's page 290 in the book Men Who Have Walked with God, written by Sheldon Cheedy, published in 1945 by Alfred Knopf.
Not clear to Beaufort that the only occurrence that could bring sorrow to him would be loss of the sense of God's presence.
Yeah,
But, he added,
that's the only thing that can upset us, is loss of the presence of happiness. And we will not let that happen, will we? Well, how are we going to do this? Just by what we're doing right now. By declaring over and over again that our raison d'etre, our reason for being, is to give happiness. And that's the only thing that's going to keep us happy, is to give happiness.
apprehended no danger in that direction. Being aware of God's complete goodness. Wow.
There was no danger that he could ever not be aware of God's completeness, God's goodness.
Yeah. We see no evil. No. We're aware of God's complete goodness. First of all, God is complete, meaning God is everything there is. And God is good. Back to our first step. God is everything there is. God is good. There is no evil unless you are obtuse enough to allow it into your life. Inadmissible. Evil is inadmissible.
Evil is inadmissible.
You do not.
Do not allow it entrance. Evil is inadmissible. Do not allow it entrance into your life.
Entrance. It is not worthy of being admitted.
It is not worthy of being admitted. Only happiness. Knock, knock. Who's there? Happiness. Okay, you admit that. Anything else, you don't admit into your life. It is not worthy of entrance into your life.
Of being acknowledged.
Do not acknowledge it.
Of being accepted as valid.
What? Oh, being accepted as valid. That's right.
Admitted. Of being acknowledged. Of being accepted as valid. Of assent. Hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil, think no evil, and do no evil. On the chapter of Brother Lawrence by Sheldon Cheedy,
Page 291.
published by Knox in 1945. Brother Lawrence, quote-unquote, was the name in religion of Nicholas Herman.
His real name was Nicholas Herman, and Brother Lawrence was his name in religion.
Lorraine. Nothing is known of his early life except that he was born in the year 1611 and that he came of a family humble circumstances. As a youth,
Humble
he fought in the
circumstances.
wars waged in the name of the Holy Roman Emperor against the Protestant sovereign of the North. It is supposed that he served in the army of Wallenstein in Germany. He was severely wounded, and after his recovery, he walked always with a pronounced limp.
But he knew the practice of the presence of God, the simple practice of the presence of God. Now, if you're happy, you don't lie, steal, and cheat. If you're happy, you're honest to yourself, you're honest to others, and you're honest to God. If you're happy, you eat right. You don't eat animals. If you're happy, you don't cause the suffering of animals. You let them be. Let them live their own lives. How would you say you're coming on sanctification? We could have a moment of sanctification right now, couldn't we? We could indeed. We could declare it. We could. How do you do that? You just take a moment. This clock will give us a moment. And in this moment, you can go a whole moment without any thought of yourself. You can go a whole moment without any thought of evil. You can go a whole moment being happy about creation. You can go a whole moment of being one with God, a whole moment of divine union. You didn't think you could do that, did you? Well, you can, and you're doing it right now. You're not thinking about yourself, and you're not filled with any desire, and you don't have any craving, and you don't have any envy, and you don't have any self, and you don't have any covetousness. You're having a whole moment of selflessness, a whole moment of mergence with the Absolute. You're having a whole moment of joy. Look at that. You didn't think you could do that. We've done it 2 or 3 times. Let's see what Brother Lawrence says. Can you hear the cardinal? Cardinal bird, that is.
About the time of his army service, when he was 18 years of age, he experienced his first revelation from God.
He experienced his first revelation from God about the time of his army experience. He was 18 years old. And he saw a tree in the wintertime with no blossoms on it, no leaves on it, just stark. And then he saw in his mind what it would be in the summertime, filled with leaves, filled with fruit. And he knew the wonder of God. That was his first.
Life was trees, except that we have some beautiful evergreens. As he gazed upon the trunk and branches, to which all life
And then, of course, came years of doubt
he experienced a vision
and years of wonder
as it would be in summer.
and years of straying. But then he went into the monastery.
With flowers and fruit, and there in
And the monastery himself really didn't help him get to the presence of God. It was really his own contemplation.
that never left him in being. Ditto. Reflecting upon the leafless tree and God's way with it, he was then and there, he said, converted, quote unquote. He thought that he had been specially favored in the revelation, and he henceforth was.
Have you ever had that experience? He felt that he was specially favored in this revelation. We are. We are right now. You and I are especially favored in this revelation. What do you want most in life? You want most to be a great person? You want most to reach your full potential? I guess there's only one way to do it, and that's to spread happiness and to spread joy and to live continually in the presence of God.
Struggled to loosen the ties of the world upon him. Yes, and that means, of course, self-defense.
Loosen the ties of the world upon you.
A great many years later, Brother Lawrence told Mr. Beaufort that he had then been kindled with such a love for God. How nice.
He had been kindled with such a love for God. It's easy to feel that today, isn't it? It's easy to feel that any day. But right now, the blue sky and the electromagnetic radiation of heat and light and that cardinal bird out there in the bushes, he's feeling it.
He was not sure it had been increased through 4 decades of living. 4 decades, 40 years. When he was 17, so he was 57.
He was 57 years old at the time.
First, lifted upon my soul the fact from God, unquote. From the hour of conceiving that, quote, notion and esteem, unquote, of God's power, the notion and esteem of God's power, wisdom and goodness. I love you, God. Quote, he had no other care but to reject scrupulously every other thought in which
Reject scrupulously every other thought. He didn't stress so much the power of God as he did the goodness of God and the love of God.
he might perform each act for the love of God. Oh, great.
Perform each act for the love of happiness. See how much happiness you can put into each moment.
Way to go, Brother Lawrence. In the years following the conversion, he worked as a manservant for a time. He was a footman in the establishment in Paris of one Monsieur Flaubert. Described as, quote, the treasurer, unquote. It is not unreasonable to believe that Nicholas Herman felt a certain fitness in
Being a servant.
dedicating himself to a servant's world. He said it of himself as regards his employment as footman that, quote, he was a great awkward fellow who broke everything, unquote.
What do you think about being a servant? I think being a partner is better, don't you? Being a partner is better than being a servant.
Goodness of heart, I love it. Goodness. Such animals, God. Brother Lawrence was intensely human. His
Intensely human.
search around for 292 right here. Manner was open and frank, so that one immediately said confidently,
I find that true, don't you? That when you live your life to the fullest happiness, that people immediately have confidence in you?
A lover of God.
A lover of God? Do these phrases do anything for you?
92. How long he was in domestic service, how well he discharged his task as servitor, whether he succeeded in coordinating his primary business of serving God with his duty to Monsieur Robert, all this is unreported. The first datable event.
Service to God, yes, goes with service to people and service to animals.
The Carmelite Monastery in 1666.
1666, he went into the Carmelite monastery.
55 years old.
There were evidences that the monastery worked against his being in the presence of the God, and he sort of got around that. He found his own way. This is the thing. Find your own way. And how do you do that? Through solitude and through meditation and through contemplation.
This way of living. In the years between his conversion, that would be 18 years old, and his decision to join the Carmelite order. That was 55.
Another half hour is over. And I'm sorry that television is run by the clock, but it is. I've been doing television for 60 years, and that is the way it is. It's run by the clock. Have a good time contemplating. Have a good time meditating. Have a good time in solitude. And have an ebullient time in being happy and giving happiness to others.
Are we purity and holiness? Have we had our illumination? Just to boost it. You have to charge it. We've been away from it for a few days. And it's been just
Hi there. The famous author was asked, "What do you consider your greatest work of fiction?" And he said, "My income tax form." Brother Lawrence, thank you so much for helping us so much. You, Brother Lawrence, in the 1600s. You, Brother Lawrence, and you taught us the practice of the presence of God. And how do we look at that? We understand God, who is so vast, so varied, so vast in time and so vast in space. We understand God, something we can hold on to, happiness. We know what that is. I come to thee.
I walk before God simply.
I walk before God simply. I walk before happiness simply. Folks, what could be more simple than that? I walk with happiness simply.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Simply.
Purely,
Purely.
with oneness,
Total absorption.
total absorption,
God's happiness.
in God's happiness, in God's joy,
And that ends page 293.
in God's goodness.
And we'll have to get out the book. 294 and 295. We don't have
We're on page 295. I think this only goes up to page 316. You know, he didn't write books. He just wrote letters, and he wrote pamphlets, and he wrote maxims. He didn't write books. But look at the tremendous help he's been to. We win each day the happiness of life. We count our blessings, we give life, we give joy. Stop, stop the cruel, stop, stop, stop the cruel.
So, adulterate. To make impure by an mixture of a lesser or basic or foreign substance. So we will not adulterate our happiness. Adumbrate. To give a shadowy or sketchy representation.
I'm going to go in and get God microcassette tape on Judge Brother Lawrence 17, because we did this one. We did this one last month. I'll be right back.
Is delighting the school kids I know today. Faith alone reveals God. Reveals to me what God is.
Happiness reveals God. Happiness reveals to you what God is.
It illuminates God instantly.
Happiness illuminates God instantly.
We toil and exercise
We toil and exercise in reason, forgetting that we achieve only a reflection or a copy of God. Forgetting that we can have the original simply by intuition, simply by listening to God, simply by being happy every minute.
We might turn our eyes to the incomparable original.
Turn our eyes to the incomparable original.
That's right. You couldn't say it better than that.
He's right, you couldn't say it better than that.
He said you don't need any agent.
You don't need an agent.
Entirely up to you.
It's entirely up to you.
Your relationship to God.
Your relationship to God.
It's exactly what Buddha said.
And that's exactly what Buddha said.
Brother Lawrence's personal and original way of finding God.
Brother Lawrence had a personal and an original way of finding God. He practiced the presence of God. I have schooled myself, said he, to live continually in the presence of God. You and I are trying to school ourselves to live continually in the presence of happiness.
Among the brothers, let's skip that.
Led to misunderstanding among the brothers. We don't care. Remember, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, think no evil, and do no evil. So we're not going to read that. Poor brothers, the other brothers, they wanted the same thing that Brother Lawrence had, but they didn't develop themselves and know how to go after it.
Evidently they reported what seemed to them his activity in prayer, his self-reliance, and delusion, quote unquote.
And that's when the Catholic Church sent Monsieur Beaufort to question him. Fortunately, Monsieur Beaufort had the intelligence and the wisdom to realize that this man was beautifully close and one to God. And leave him alone. Leave him bare. Leave him be. And that's at the time when Joan of Arc was burned at the stake. And others, the Huguenots, were, okay, that's evil. We're not thinking about that. Fortunately, they had the sense to let him be.
He was, quote, questioned and obliged to open himself, unquote.
He was questioned and obliged to open himself.
Reported by Monsieur Beaufort seemed to have satisfied fully the superior who interrogated him. He explained
They had no right to do that in the first place.
to live continuously in God's presence.
He had schooled himself to live continuously in God's presence. We have schooled ourselves to live continually in the presence of happiness. Praise the Lord, let the people rejoice. Praise the Lord, let the earth hear his voice. Oh, come to the Father through Jesus the Son, and give him the glory, great things he hath done.
Applause, applause, applause.
Way to go, Brother Lawrence.
He explained that he had trained himself to live continuously in God's presence.
Say it again. He had trained himself to live continuously in God's presence. He had trained himself to live continuously in God's presence. We are training ourselves to live continuously in the presence of happiness.
And how he accomplished his work with scholarship, to cook without losing communion with him.
And how he accomplished his work, how Brother Lawrence accomplished his work as scullion or cook without losing God's presence. Can you and I accomplish all of our work without losing the presence of happiness? Can we? Sure we can. Praise the Lord, let the people rejoice. Oh, come to the Father through Jesus the Son. Give him the glory, great things he hath done.
Oh, boy, it's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
And adds, quote, as Brother Lawrence found as much advantage in walking in the presence of God, he earnestly recommended.
As Brother Lawrence found as much advantage in walking in the presence of God,
Way of life to other people.
he recommended this way of life to other people. I suppose. Do we have to proselytize? Do we have to go out and tell others? I suppose. Do we have to spread the word of happiness? I suppose. Can't we just walk it? Can't we just be it? Isn't that enough for people to catch on? Like, just so sad to see people not happy. There is no reason not to be unhappy. There is no reason not to be happy. There's just no reason not to be unhappy. Just stop and think. Look at the blessings sitting here, you and I. On the 31st of October, All Hallowed Eve, orange and black. Because tomorrow is November 1st, All Saints' Day. And we sit here with the snow on the ground and blessed with the heat and light of the sun and blessed with the leadership of Brother Lawrence. I have trained myself to live continuously in the presence of God.
No argument, however, was as effective as the example of his own devotion.
No other argument was as effective of his own devotion.
For his countenance reflected a winning, inward sweetness.
For his countenance reflected a winning, inward sweetness. Isn't that a pretty thing? You want to hear it again?
And how he accomplished his work of scullion or cook without losing communion with him. Oh boy, that's beautiful. And adds, quote, as Brother Lawrence found as much advantage in walking in the presence of God, he earnestly recommended this way of life to other people. No argument, however, was as effective as the example of his own devotion, for his countenance reflected a winning, inward sweetness and calm. For his countenance reflected a winning, inward sweetness and calm. For his countenance reflected a winning, inward sweetness and calm.
Do you have it, folks? Do you have a winning, inward sweetness and calm? I'd like to have it. Can we help each other get that? A winning, inward sweetness and calm. His countenance reflected a winning, inward sweetness and calm.
He took philosophically such disappointments as came to him. One day,
He took philosophically such disappointments that came to him. One day, Monsieur Beaufort had to inform him that a project that Brother Lawrence had been working on for a long, long time and put a great deal of effort into had been nixed by the superiors. And Monsieur Beaufort had to tell him that. And Brother Lawrence said he supposed that there was good reason for it and that they knew best. How do you take a disappointment like that?
I told him right out and a project of greatest consequence to him, which was close to his heart, and for which he had long labored, would not be carried out, because the superiors had decided against it. He replied simply, quote, "We cannot but believe that they have reasons for rejecting it. Our duty is to assent and say no more about it." One can see curious balance of humility and independence.
He had a balance
Humility and independence.
balance of humility and independence.
Of deference and dignity.
Of deference and dignity.
Before the superior or the bishop, answering questions about his faith, obviously and unmistakably a man of rare saintliness and piety.
Obviously and unmistakably a man of rare saintliness and piety. How does that strike you? Let's do it. Let's be saintly. Let's be pious.
Obviously and unmistakably a man of rare saintliness and piety. Yet, equally and clearly, a maker of his own rules of devotion.
Yet, equally and clearly, a maker of his own rules of devotion.
A silent accuser of much that the church exacted from its members. It is to the credit of his superiors and of the Carmelite order that the inquisitors sufficiently recognized his sincerity and his holiness to pass over the charges and leave him in peace.
His sincerity and holiness to pass over the charges and leave him in peace.
The letter of justification addressed by Brother Lawrence to, quote, my Reverend Father, unquote, constitutes one of the boldest and most reasonable defenses of, quote, companionship with God.
How do you like that? Companionship with God. How do you like that? Companionship with God. We don't know what that is, do we? Because God is so vast in time and in space, and in creation, and in variety, and in beauty, and in harmony. We don't know. We're too little. But what do we know? Companionship with happiness. That's who our companion is. You and I are companions. Companionship with happiness.
Do you? That's what we've had all these days, folks.
That's what we had all these minutes that we've been doing the happiness
What makes
chats.
a friend?
What makes a friend?
What makes two people friends?
What makes two people friends?
The amount of time they spend with each other.
The amount of time they spend with each other.
So the more time we spend with God,
The more time we spend with God,
the better friend we are of God.
the better friend we are of God.
The more time we spend with happiness, the better friend we are with happiness.
How much time do we spend with happiness?
Between a person and an animal.
what makes a friend between a person and an animal.
Spend together.
The more time they spend together.
Written by the humble friar. He refuses to come in. Tell how he came to distrust the more usual methods
How he came to distrust the more usual methods
obtaining spirituality.
of obtaining
What
spirituality.
is our method?
What is our method?
Count blessings.
Count blessings.
Count pure thoughts.
Count pure thoughts.
Sing hymns.
Sing hymns.
Vespers.
Vespers.
Recording on microcassette.
Recording on
Blessings
microcassette.
of the day.
The blessings of the day.
And recording what God wants done the next day.
And recording what God wants done the next day. And don't forget rejoicing
Meditation.
and meditation.
What's due in bed if she can't make it. And God first after doing the 5 fundamental
God
household
first.
kitty cat chores. Dressing.
Why does Marilyn call her son Blister? Why does she call her son-in-law Blister? He never shows up until after the work is done. And the chairman of the company said, Bill has always given us, at the retirement party, an honest day's work. Even